What is interesting, though, are whatever expectations are for the Commanders. And I don't know what they should be. We know what Vegas has them set at, which isn't exactly high, but a lot can happen. A lot can change. And if you're a player, you should absolutely have a high expectations. If you're a player on a team, you should have high expectations at all times, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
like you can call it athletic arrogance, you can call it whatever you want, but if you are playing in a game, anytime you step on the field, on the basketball court, on the ice, you only step into that arena to win.
If you're in the NFL or any professional arena, hadn't been many times you stepped into something and say, I can't win.
Right.
That's just the way you have to think. That's the way you're made. That's why a lot of times people don't understand the mindset of some of these athletes.
So I find it interesting. Earlier in the program, we talked about the Giants a fair amount because the debut of in-season Hard Knocks was last night, and you saw Joe Shane, the general manager, say a lot of interesting stuff. One of the things he said as he was preparing Giants ownership and the rest of his staff to not re-sign Saquon was there's going to be a lot of other guys available, and he included Austin Ekeler.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. The Commanders moved on Austin Ekeler pretty quickly. But Austin Ekeler, and I don't know exactly when this is. I saw it while I was overseas. Austin Ekeler joined Kay Adams on her podcast and talked kind of at length about Washington's options, what his expectations are in Washington this season.
Tough division, but do you get the feeling that there could be magic here, not just for Magic Johnson, but playoff-wise?
That's for us to go build, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. Like this is the off season. What are you supposed to do in the off season? I had someone ask me about this the other day. How are the playoffs? Like, what are you thinking? Is this a new trend? Do you guys have a chance? I'm like, I don't even give a damn about any of that right now. I don't care because I can't even think about that. I got to think about getting the guys that are in the building ready to go. And what does that mean? That means establishing a standard because there's a lot of new guys around. So what does that mean? What does that mean tangibly that I need to go do to hold myself accountable and hold myself to a standard? That needs to be established. Then it needs to be established of how we're going to work, how we're going to go out there and how we're going to actually execute. How do we communicate? Who's leader? Do we have vocal leaders? Like who's leading?
Well, clearly you're the leader. You're talking to me. I feel like I'm interviewing Dan Quinn right now. You're talking about getting the guys in the building ready. Is that your role?
I think I would say, yes, I'm building into that role. And we just talked about it. I've been around for a while. I was a captain for the Chargers for the last 4 years. And so I have put myself in a role where I am vocal. To be a captain is a huge honor. You get voted on by your team, but it's not even about that. It's about making sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to be successful, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get paid. We're all trying to win games. So what do we got to do? We want to put ourselves in a position where we can win. So we need people to be held accountable, to be playing up to a standard, and be competing their ass off out in OTAs.
Dude, sound like he wears number 30. I'm saying. Listen, man. What Austin Ekeler just stated is exactly what I would say 75% of the players in the league think. There are some players that are going to just follow whatever someone establishes. And what that reporter did is what most reporters do too. They have an idea, a narrative of what they want to present. And when you say something as simple as what he said, they're kind of wowed by it. It's nothing to be wowed by. If you are at the top of your profession at any job, don't you think you're damn good at it? And if you're trying to win, what you try to do, you try to make sure everybody begins to limit their mistakes and put all the work that they need to do into it. So when you get to the job, you can just go out there and react, and that's all Ekeler is talking about.
I think clearly Ekeler brings some level of veteran leadership that offensively they kind of lack. I think Zach Ertz brings that too. I don't think, those signings were by accident. Eckler's done a fair number of podcasts and stuff over the last couple of days. And one of the comments I found interesting was he basically said with the Chargers, like, yo, I'm not a 300 carry type back, and that's what they're going to want, especially with Harbaugh now, and that, like, his separation from the Chargers really made a lot of sense. But he's talked at length about what he can be with Brian Robinson, kind of that combination.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I don't know if you saw the photo I posted, or I'm sure a lot of people posted it, of a bunch of Commanders players getting together
In Oregon.
in Oregon. Yeah, it seems like Mariota got them together. But out there you had Cole Turner, John Bates, Ekeler, De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson, among others. Brian Robinson, and then Mariota and Jaden Daniels. What does that work this time of year? What is the real value of it versus just kind of team building?
To be honest with you, you've already done all the things that you can do football-wise, and you can hone in some skills. But the biggest thing that you get from that is exactly what you said, team building. You get to hang around guys day in and day out. You know, y'all probably ain't too much to do in Oregon, or maybe in Eugene there's a lot of things to do, but not in Bandit. So you get there, and you're with guys from morning to night, and you redo it again. You learn more about your people. You get a little closer to them, and you hear me talk about it all the time about how when I played with the team, how we did everything together. And then when you get on the field, you have a mindset, I don't want to let my guy down. You know what I mean? And I think that is the main thing. They're not about to go there and come back better than a person that didn't go there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But maybe, just maybe, De'Ami gets a better connect with Jaden or Mariota. Cole Turner, a guy who needs to take another step. Maybe the extra work will do something for him to make him feel more comfortable in what he's doing. You know? But ultimately, those type of things are for team building. Hell, a lot of people go out of town. A lot of people stay in town and do it right around the area. But I always felt like I like to invite guys over to my crib. Cook a good meal, have a few drinks, talk. Talk about everything. Things that may be uncomfortable. But what you do, you find out what people are. You find out what they truly are about. And you can start to deal with them in a different light. Because if we look at everybody just like ourselves, and when they walk in the thing and we start attacking them, they fold. They get away from it. But you get them in a comfortable situation, they'll tell you everything you need to know. And then you begin, now as I'm a leader, I know how to lead him better. You get what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting time with Ekeler because it seems that his approach, I'm reading, this is an interview he did with Rich Eisen, where he talked about that he's saying he doesn't want to be a 300 carry back. This is a quote. It doesn't mean I don't want the ball. It just means I know I'm going to be one of those backs that's going to catch it and run the ball. And when I've had the most success, it's been usually when we have that same type of tandem where we have someone else that can relieve me. So if you look at Eckler's career numbers, the best numbers have always been when another back was performing well with LA. It was Melvin Gordon. You know, if you look at his 22 season, they were rolling.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just Ekeler. They also had I'm blanking on the name, but
when we talked to Greenberg earlier,
sure,
he talked about the amount of carries and how guys get worn out. Okay. Now, and they say, well, the coaches, and there's so much money, but let's be real. Shouldn't the coach try to figure out how can he best utilize a person? I've told you about Andy when Brian or Westbrook first got to the team. And Brian did not have the whole offense mastered. But the percentage that he had mastered, he was damn good at it. What did Andy Reid do? He used him for that percentage.
Right.
He didn't make him have to learn the whole offense and say, I'm going to give you the ball 25 times a game. He utilized what made him best. And with people today in this league, yeah, what if I come in my first 3 or 4 years, 5 years, and I carry the ball 250 to 300 times, and I'm very effective at it. But then you realize that I am not that pounder anymore, but I still will cook any damn linebacker trying to check me coming out the backfield. So you put me in, you run some draws with me, you run some misdirection plays, you put me in some one-on-one routes, run some wheel routes, and run some option routes and things like that, swings. I still am very, very effective at what I'm good at. So my career is prolonged and your success is prolonged. But what do? When y'all don't carry it 250 times a game anymore, they cut that person. Instead of still utilizing what he's damn good at for the next 5 or 6 years.
one more note in the Ekeler. I can't wait to work with Brian Robinson thing. The best team that Cliff Kingsbury had offensively in Arizona, they went 11-5 in 2021. They had Kyler Murray, who was incredibly effective on the ground. James Conner and Chase Edmonds combined for over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 20 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Cliff wants a dynamic duo as well.